Welcome to the Coffin Table podcast, where we breathe new life into films thought dead and buried. I'm fresh-eyed film fan Anita Dirtnap.
And I am film historian, horror host, and undead aficionado, Sir Corliss. I've dug up the best, the worst, and the most bizarre that Hollywood has to offer. So grab enough coffee to wake up the dead.
This is the Coffin Table podcast.
So, Anita, darling, you showed me that atrocious Bad Fish film last go-round. And I promised you that I would torture you with my really bad fish movie. So, this was your first 1970s horror film. This was The Bog. And I have to know, if you had to describe this movie, how would you describe it?
Shit! No, for real though. I mean, it's not great.
It's really not.
It's not great.
I will applaud the movie for at least trying. It tried. It was trying something. I'm not sure what it was trying, but you could tell it was trying.
Well, and we're going to get into this more as we get into the episode here, but you also mentioned that the last 30 minutes you had no memory of.
Yes. No. Okay, so, all right, true story. I watched this movie, and the first time I ever watched it was because it was free on Amazon, and I was like, oh, hey, cool, a movie I haven't seen before. So I watched it, and it gets to the climax of the movie, and they kill the monster, and it ends. And I'm going, oh, okay, that's awesome. That's kind of weird that they'd had the final fight in the daytime, but whatever. And then you and I watched it, and the climax of the movie happened. And then the movie kept going. And I was going, wait, what? No, the movie ended. That was the end of the movie. What did we talk? What? And I found out that apparently there are two different cuts to this film. One was made for, because this movie was made for TV regardless, but there was a batch of it that was made for the drive-in circuit, and a batch that was made for TV. And apparently there are two different cuts for this film. And I wound up watching the TV cut, which actually cut out the entire climax of the movie and turned the fight with the monster at the halfway point as the climax of the movie.
How interesting that, because obviously this is not the first movie that's ever done that. You know, we have director's cuts, we have theatrical cuts, we have TV cuts, you know, we have variations of so many movies. But I love that it's not just a new thing that they've done. Like, this is something that they've been doing for ages now.
Well, and, you know, the idea of movies like being recut and re-edited, that's nothing new at all. Like, they've been doing that since the 50s, if not before then. In fact, there's actually two different cuts of the original Lon Chaney Phantom of the Opera. One of them was a silent film, and then the other one was a talkie. Except, from what I understand, the talkie is lost. You actually cannot find a copy of Phantom of the Opera with sound anymore. But apparently there were two different versions of it, and there were even rumors of it being shot in the original Phantom of the Opera being shot in 3D, because there are two different cuts of the opening character. If you watch the Phantom of the Opera movie from 1925, the caretaker shows up, and there are two different cuts. One where he's dead center, and then one where he's slightly to the right, or maybe it's slightly to the left. I don't remember, but the camera angle is a little bit off. And some people are saying that's because they tried to make the movie in 3D. Other people are saying that it is that one is the silent film version and one is the sound version, but because the audio track got lost, you now only have the silent film version available. It's weird, but like re-edit, but you're right. Re-edits like that happen all the time. Apparently, they've been happening since the dawn of moviedom, and you don't really know about it. You attribute it to being something new, or at least newer.
Well, I mean, consider what's a good example? Well, the second or third Alien movie, they had the theatrical cut and then the director's cut, and there was a good chunk of movie that was added back into the director's cut.
Yeah, that was that was Alien 3.
Yeah. So that's been going on since as far as I was aware anyways. The 80s. So to know that that is not a practice that only started that soon in the timeline of movie history is actually very interesting to me. The fact that they had that even back then.
Yeah, and again, the only reason I knew about this is because of what I assumed was a whoopsie. I watched this film, got to the climax of the movie, what I thought was the climax of the movie, where they're fighting the monster in the daytime. It's the first time you actually get a good shot of the monster, and he drops dead, and the credits roll. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, that was odd. And then whenever we sat down and watched it on Tubi. Or was it Tubi or was it YouTube?
It was
No,
Tubi.
it was YouTube.
No, it was Tubi. Was it?
It was Tubi? Okay.
Was it? Hang on. Now I'm confused. No, it was YouTube.
No.
That's right. It was YouTube.
Yeah, it was YouTube.
Yeah.
It was YouTube. It was, yeah, because I remember, because I shared the link with you.
Yes.
But we watched it on YouTube, and the movie kept going, and I'm like, wait, what? But yeah, apparently this was amongst some of the films that would enter the drive-through circuit. And I only bring this up because it was given a limited theatrical release and then immediately went to VHS. So, like, it's not a made-for-TV movie. It's not a direct-to-video movie. It's somewhere kind of sort of in between. And apparently during its limited theatrical run, somebody got a hold of it and chopped it down to a shorter length. And that's the most I can find out about this. And even then, I'm still kind of vaguely skeptical. Now, granted, Amazon gods do not strike me down for this, but Amazon is not the best about making sure that if you upload a movie to Amazon, you actually have the rights to it. There's been a few times where people will just post copies of movies onto Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime just goes, okay, sure, fine, and doesn't check.
Sounds legit.
Yeah, exactly. But so it is very possible that it was just a patch job that someone else did, posted onto Amazon, and Amazon never fact checked it, or whatever terminology you want to use for it. It is highly possible that is what occurred, and I'm just not privy. But from what I can understand, it got yoinked and moved and hopped and bobbled all around the place. So yeah, that was an interesting thing to watch.
Now, as someone who has seen now both versions of the movie, which one would you prefer? Would you prefer the edited version or the full length?
Well, it did end quicker.
It did, yeah. I didn't have to sit through it as long.
Yeah, it has. No, the re-edit, or I'm sorry, the original edit version where Um, we actually do get multiple fights with the monster. Did turn out to be a lot better. Gee, it's like the film was missing something or something. I don't know, but the entire premise of the movie is very bizarre because it's a prehistoric monster that apparently requires um, females of other species in order to reproduce, but
Yeah.
it also is like a vampire because it sucks the blood out of them. But it's also a swamp monster
This
that
movie
may not have been Bigfoot, and there's also a witch. Like, there's a lot of plot points going on at once.
this movie tried to basically what I feel like take what was hot at the time, what was popular, fresh off the press kind of thing, and put it in a mixing pot of shit.
And the worst part is, I'm not even going to try and correct you because that very well may have been fresh out of the bowl. Um,
Well,
no,
think about it. You have the creature of the Black Lagoon ness of it.
swamp monster
Swamp
thing.
monster
Yeah.
thing that's after the girl, you have the blood sucking vampire esque part of it. She's fucking Dracula. Like this movie was taking popular oh, what's the word? Not niches. Popular
Tropes.
tropes, yes, thank you. And just mashing them all together.
Oh, it was definitely doing that. And the worst part is it's very obvious that it's going on.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's a movie.
It's a movie.
It's it's a
Interesting
movie.
though, something that I found out while watching this movie that you weren't aware of. One of the commenters on the YouTube channel, now I don't know how truthful this is. I didn't fact check, but one of the commenters was saying that this was actually a film that was very near and dear to their heart because it was done by their family. Their grandmother was either the writer or the director. Their father was a character in the movie. Their mother was a character in the movie. They were even a stand-in for some things, just like like a stunt double kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting that like there's people that have these connections to these movies, and we're just sitting here trashing them all to shit.
Well, but the thing is, that happens with movies. Like, period.
Yeah.
Like, uh, you're like, okay, Leonard Maltin, famous movie critic. He actually said that the Bog committed the cardinal sin of being boring. Like, if you're gonna make a horror film, if you're gonna make a film, period, the cardinal sin you can commit is to be boring. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. This movie turned out to be kind of boring, which is sad because again, like the premise is actually really interesting.
Oh yeah.
Of the this some sort of weird monster creature thing that's lurking in the swamps, and it's attacking fishermen, and sometimes it attacks them near land, sometimes it attacks them in the water, sometimes it even leaves the water entirely and treks off to elsewhere to try and snag prey. Like it has a lot going on, and the scientists are like, oh well, it's some sort of fish monster. No, it's not a fish monster. Okay, well it's some sort of uh, uh, plant or mineral. Like they refer to it as being partly mineral at one point, which that was bizarre. I think they were referring to the exoskeleton, if I had to guess. But there was a lot going on with that, and like as an audience member, I'm going, okay, so what the heck is this? Because they never show the monster while they're explaining what it does. like what this thing is doing to people. They never show the monster. You get like one or two brief instances of a claw, um, but never really a good head-on shot of it until after they go, ah, okay, we know what the monster is. Let's track it down. They track it down, and then you get to see what the monster looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
They very sparingly used the costume for the monster, which honestly, in my opinion, can be a good thing. Like, take for example the Alien, the first Alien. That was all done in shadows and everything, and that I think played a huge part in the success of that movie. You know, your mind was doing more of the horrific imaginings than what you were actually seeing on screen, and it worked. However, with this movie, it was I feel like it didn't work at all. You know, it made it more boring that we weren't seeing the creature, but we were seeing the aftermath of the creature, basically.
well, the thing is, and you bring up a really good point with Alien. With Alien, the whole thing is that the creature blends in with the shadow. It blends in with those harsh, uh, uh, inorganic pipe work and things like that. Like it's very clearly an ambush predator, and so your mind is playing tricks on you because you're going, okay, is that it? No, not it. Oh, is that it? No, not it. Most of the killings in this movie take place in broad daylight.
Mm-hmm.
Like 90% of the film is in broad daylight. There's only like two scenes that actually happen at night. One of them being uh, close to the climax, not even the actual climax, but like the fight just before the climax. I think it um, is actually at nighttime, and that's really about it. Uh, so, and the monster itself is, you know, really dark black or green, or even hints of, maybe because it's a crustacean, maybe you could argue that it's actually got bits of red or brown in it. And so, and I blame it on 1979. Uh, the camera that they're using, it just kind of looks like a big blob on screen. You don't really, even whenever they do show what the monster looks like, it's still not a great shot of what the monster looks like. Um, so it doesn't do what it needs to do because it's doing it wrong. Not going about it the right way. Um, for this creature to be, ultra super sneaky, it's also a very loud monster. Every time it shows up, this thing roars and screams and hollers and everything else. Going, boy, it wants you to know it's there, doesn't it?
Yeah, the element of surprise isn't really part of its forte here.
Yeah,
It almost, I think I remember thinking to myself, it's almost like it's more scared of us than we are of it type of thing going on here, because every time it sees a human, it screams. Um,
yeah.
so I mean, I don't get what kind of direction they were trying to go with this. Honestly, like, you see the humans are running from it, and you see this thing is like screaming its head off every time it sees a human, and then it kills whatever's close by. Which, by the way, was only females that it drank the blood of, apparently, even though it did kill a few males.
Yeah, it was very bizarre. And again, the biology for this creature was fun too. But it's a B movie monster. I'm not expecting actual true science, but at least pretend.
Exactly. Pretend that you know what you're doing.
It was a very odd decision. It really was.
Because
But now, okay. Have you ever seen um Legend of Boggy Creek? I know that you and I watched the second Legend. The Legend Continues, but did you ever sit down and watch the first one?
yes,
Okay. On a scale of Boggy Creek to Monstrosity, where would you, or Monstrous, or whatever the heck it was called, where would you set this on the Bigfoot scale? Because, like, this gave me some Legend of Boggy Creek vibes.
I love how our scale are Legend of Boggy Creep and the fucking monstrous movie.
Look, okay, it's either a classic that needs to be talked about more, or it's terrible with a weird plot that just happens to feature a monster. Okay,
Oh, I can't wait till we can talk about that one.
we'll have a
Okay.
Bigfoot. We'll have a Bigfoot season.
Yes. Um,
Not,
so in terms of a scale of 1 to 10, it would probably be on the closer to the monstrous side. Um, because while unlike monstrous, where you you didn't even need to add the Bigfoot aspect to it, this one did add the aspect of a monster being there. I still feel like a lot of unnecessary shit happened.
yeah,
Like there was that
no,
whole love scene that was between these two characters that really I feel like did not have to be there.
yeah.
It may just be the ace in me talking, but I don't need to spend 2 minutes watching two people make out on screen like that.
Not even very well either. Like,
No.
it really was not very well made out to begin. Like, it was not well. The makeout scene was not very well shot, and 90% of it didn't even involve lips. It was more just aggressive nuzzling.
Yeah.
Uh, both of the characters were significantly older. Like, no offense to people who are older, want to engage in any sort of bliss in that nature. But if you're making a movie, you have to know what your audience is going to be, and if you're making a movie that's going to hit the drive-through circuit, you know that none of the teenagers are going to sit here and watch this movie in their car. They're going to be necking just as much as the old folks are in the movie. It was a very odd choice. I'm going to say that it was a very, very odd choice to do, and it was not done well, and it just kept going. Like, they were not progressing whatsoever. They just kept kissing or necking or, you know, oh, woe is me, etc., into each other for way longer than they needed.
Yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it. I get it. Romance is a hot topic in a lot of movies. It adds a new flair to it. It adds a sense of urgency between two characters. It adds a sweet moment amongst the dark. Don't drag it out. Don't drag it
Yeah.
out. For the love of God, stop dragging it out. I get like nobody got naked. Nobody, like it was just a makeout session. That was it. But for like 2.5, 3 minutes, really, just have them kiss once and then fade to black. That's all we need.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. I think we can both agree on that one. Well, okay, now let me go this one with you. In terms of like a drive-in movie, which is again what this was. Have you ever, like, I know that you've never been to a drive-through theater, but like have you ever seen like a drive-in type feature before, like anything like that? Like a movie that you can sit down and go, oh yeah, no, this was a movie that showed up in a drive-in.
It's
Like, have you ever
funny.
seen?
It's funny you say that. Keeping with the underwater theme here for a bit. My mother went to go see Jaws at a. It was kind of like a drive-in, but they were all in a pool.
Oh, that's cool.
and they were all on floaties. And so every time I see the movie Jaws, I just think about that story she tells me of how they were absolutely out of their mind, terrified because they were all fucking floating in this pool watching a shark movie on screen. So I mean, I have seen movies that have been on drive-through features. I personally have never been to a drive-through. We have one here locally. I've just never been to it.
Really?
Funny enough, you want to know something funny?
Yeah.
It's named after you, not sarcophagus. Your name.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah.
Like first name or last name, just so I'm clear.
Boomer. It's called Boomer's Drive-In.
Oh, nuts. Oh, that's really funny. That's really funny. Speaking of Boomer, by the way, folks, for our audience members who don't know, my nickname amongst our friend group is Boomer. And if anybody is familiar with the documentary In Search of Darkness or In Search of Tomorrow or anything like that, Anita actually donated to get that documentary, specifically In Search of Tomorrow, got that one done, and lovingly, she actually put my name down on the donation as Boomer. So Boomer is officially part of the end credits to In Search of
Yeah, if you go through In Search of Tomorrow to the credits, under the bees, Boomer.
Boomer, and I love it because no one will ever know except for our friend group and now anybody who ever listens to this. But yeah, that's always fun. But yeah, that's hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. No, this was very drive-in vibes. This was made for TV movie vibes. This was not ever going to win an Oscar, and I'm pretty sure everyone knew that going in. They decided to say oh well and try to have as much fun as they could. Granted, it does have its glaring, and that's me trying to be as generous as I can with it.
I think you're being a bit too generous there. Listen. My movie, I feel like, was still a step up from this one.
Your movie featured date rape and lizard man fish sex. Mine was a giant lobster man that sucked women dry of their blood and got killed by fire extinguisher foam.
And also, this is something that they actually say in the movie. Because the creature cannot mate with its own species, it has to find a mate with the human race. So it infuses some of its own blood into their chosen mate so that the woman can bear their young.
Yeah.
Tell me again.
Yes. But at least mine had a monster. Yours had crappy CGI and from what your argument is, not even prosthetics.
I swear to God it wasn't. I swear to God it was CGI. I will die on that hill.
At least mine was a man in a lobster costume.
Yeah, but he was a pervert. Granted, so were the mermaids.
But that's the whole thing, though. That's why I decided to pick this movie, is because it versus Bad Fish, they're very similar in terms of what's going on plot-wise. The monster's MO is very much the same. It's just one is 1970s bad, and the other one is 2020s bad.
This is
so
true.
Like it really, it's an apples to apples comparison. I feel it's a fair judgment on this. Granted, yours has a leg up because your movie Bad Fish has the animation sequence that threw both of us off, and we went, "How does this?"
So out of place.
So,
So out of place.
oh man, yeah. So, but like, and then I had the weird old people making out scene, which was so out of place. You know, it, but you know, it's. I feel like the that's why I picked this movie is because it was close enough to the opposite end of the spectrum, and yet still keeping in theme. That's why I decided to go with it.
I mean, it's valid. It's still. I mean, you're gonna hate me for
It's a
this.
terrible movie. I'm
You,
not saying
no,
that it
no,
loves
no. You're gonna hate me for this. It's still very much Creature of the Black Lagoon esque.
Oh no, it is. It is. It's just a terrible Creature of the Black Lagoon movie. It's like if you try, but the difference between them is like one is Creatures of the Black Lagoon, the other is Attack of the Giant Leeches. Like, yes, they're both wet, but like it's hard to compare. And I'm not saying that you're like between the bog and bad fish. I'm just saying like if you think about like the themes that are going on. It's very much one of those dog in a high pitched noise. You're kind of turn your head and go, ha.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. Um, Both of them have their cons.
Yeah, but
No pros.
no pros, none at all.
No pros, just cons. No, no. They have one pro together that's shared.
Oh,
They ended.
I see. Oh, okay, all right.
I just
um,
I I get where they get the concepts from because again, it's all about pulling similarities from different movies and twisting it to make your own kind of thing. No one in this day and age has original ideas anymore. Like it's either a remake or it's going to be a sequel like fucking 40 years later and they're making a Labyrinth sequel. Like, shut the fuck up. Or it's going to be something that has the same premise, just twisted. Fish person falls in love with human person. Terror ensues. Yay!
I mean, yeah, yeah, but like that goes. Unfortunately, that is the problem of getting into an industry that is 200 years old. Oh well, not really, but it's basically 200 years old now. Or 100 years old now because uh, we are officially in the 2020s. We are halfway through the 2020s, which means that Phantom of the Opera, the 1925 version, is officially 100 years old.
I
So, and so you have that, and if you really think about that, that is insane, considering how many movies get made per year. You're bound to have overlap. You're bound to have repeats. You're bound to have these things. And that's not just talking about films. Think about animation. Think about stage productions that have that where someone just took a camcorder and said, "Okay, we're making a movie and we're filming this." Like there's so many. It makes sense that there's going to be a lot of overlap and redo, etc. After 100 years. That's similar things happen in painting, the traditional arts. You have a lot of people who go, "Hey, I'm going to draw this ocean theme that was drawn 200 years ago, but this is my version of that same scene because it's a real location."
but
You're going to have overlap. It's just which one is going to wind up being better. And
that's what
some
I
of them are
mean.
great, and
That's
some
what
of
I
them are
mean.
terrible.
That's what I mean, though, is that because it's been such a big industry for how long now, um, it's never going to be just an original idea. There's going to be similarities between other movies. It's going to be the same premise. fish person, human person, fall in love, terror ensues. You know, like this is a constant thing that we're seeing between these three movies right now. Does that mean that they actually took inspiration from Creature of the Black Lagoon? I have no idea. They might have. They might not have. But the premise is still there.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think they did.
Probably not.
I don't think they did. I think that they wanted to make a swamp monster movie, and it may, and in total fairness, it may have been a movie that inspired them. That was not Creature from the Black Lagoon, but the film that inspired them. The film that inspired them was Creature from the Black Lagoon inspired. So I would not be surprised if they watched Attack of the Giant Leeches and went, oh man, let's do a movie kind of like this, but instead of it being a leech, what's another animal that's in the swamp? A crawfish.
Yeah.
And went with that.
No, 100%. I mean, like, it's not a bad thing. You can have so many different variations of essentially the same premise and have them be good. I think it just depends on your writer and your director.
Mm-hmm.
And how they lead the actors into what is essentially going to be your make or break. So it's interesting to see how, you know, we are staring at 3 different times, you know, of movies and seeing similarities, but also the differences, but also saying, well, you know, this could have been inspired, this could not have been inspired. We won't know until we talk to the people, but you know, it's interesting to me to see how it just comes full circle. Basically, is what I'm getting at. My long-winded explanation of it. It's all full circle, and it just depends.
I understand what you're saying too. I do.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. But but honestly, like, when you have as much time as you do in an industry, and when you have the resources to make your footprint amongst the millions of people who have done it before you and who will do it after you, you have to make sure it's actually good.
Well, to give our audiences a taste of what this movie was like in terms of notoriety and lasting legacy, etc. I have a book called The Essential Monster Movie Guide, A Century of Creature Features on TV, Film, and Video. It's by Stephen Jones. It has an introduction by 4E.J. Ackerman. And it has all these monster movies in alphabetical order, and it talks about all the different movies for the past 100 years. This book, by the way, was written in 99. So from the dawn of cinema all the way up till 1999. That was whenever that's where this book gives itself as a cutoff. And if you go to the bees and you look for the bog, it does not show up at all. There is no bog film. There's American Werewolf in London. There is The Bowery Boys Meet the Monsters. There is Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Girl. There are all of these others in here, and yet I am not finding the bog, which is fascinating to me. Just because you'd think that it'd be in here somewhere, but no. It is just outright not here. So the lasting legacy of this film is that 100 years worth of movies of all time, and it's not even mentioned.
Which is, wow.
It was forgotten, and is Hilariously, outside of people like you and me who kind of get off on watching these really terrible movies and just kind of sitting back with a bowl of popcorn going chuckle chuckle and elbow poke, I can't think of anyone to recommend this movie to. Like, can you think of anybody that you would recommend The Bog to that isn't a masochist like you and I?
I may have one person in mind, but other than that, I mean, it. You're right. Like we are a very niche type of people.
Mm-hmm.
We actively search for these movies just to see if they're really as bad as they say. Like you're the one who got me started on the Mystery Science Theater show
Yep.
because that's just what we started talking about like we just loved watching these bad movies and riffing on them, and you're like, oh, you should check this out. And ever since then it's been this whole thing where we each present a movie and we're like, have fun.
Yep.
Go
Well,
at
it's
it.
true. It's true.
And honestly, in my lifetime, I have only had one other person I could have done that with. And we only did it like 2 times.
Dang.
And yeah, and then, like, then you came along. I'm like, oh my God, I just found my best friend soulmate.
Well, see, there you go. It's a thing of beauty.
It is.
Um,
And you've regretted it ever since.
I have because of bad fish, but no, like it. It is a surprisingly unremarkable.
Yeah.
In the, I'm going to go ahead and this is probably the shortest episode we will ever do on this show because this movie was so unremarkable that it's remarkable. If that makes any sense.
I think it makes sense. It was it was so bad, it wasn't good, and it's forgettable. You know,
Yeah,
it's a you see
and
it, and 5 minutes later you're like, what happened? What was it about?
um, yeah, no, it just that was that's pretty much the end of it right there. Boom. Hey, thanks for coming, everybody. But no, so let me see. How do I want to word this next question? Um, obviously, in terms of pop culture, this is a very largely forgettable movie. Um, do you think that uh, do you
Take your time.
do what?
So take your time.
Yeah, right.
You're struggling there.
Do you think if this movie got a Mystery Science Theater or a Riff Tracks kind of treatment, that maybe it would have a better reception and be one of those things where everybody kind of goes, "Oh yeah, I saw Mike in the Box do that." Or, oh, hey, that's one of these movies. Do you think if it had gotten one of these more lampoonish takes on it, then it would be better remembered, or do you think that even they couldn't save this film?
Honestly, I think they could have. Because, I mean, I'll take Mystery Science Theater, for example. The whole idea is that they're sending horrible movies to break the two robots and whoever happens to be the human host at that time, just for fun. And I think, honestly, if it had the extra comedy bits of them riffing on it, making those comments, the little jabs and everything, I think it would have been better. It would have been more memorable because you would have seen a scene and been like, oh yeah, Joel said this at this scene and it made me laugh so hard, like I think it would have saved the movie. They still have time, if you guys ever listen to this, I'd watch it if you do it.
Maybe we can get because so there's cinematic Titanic, which is Joel and Pearl and a couple of others who are getting together, and they do what it is that they get on either side of the movie screen and they riff it live.
Yeah.
Then there's riff tracks, which is where they do the audio only voice recordings. Mystery Science Theater, obviously, that's them silhouetted at the bottom of the screen. There's Film Crew, which I really enjoyed, but that only lasted 4 episodes. I'm kind of sad about that. And now they're doing The Mads, which is Dr. Forrester and TV's Frank, and they're getting together and they're doing their own riffs of movies. And I kind of want to see The Mads get together and do this movie. I think they'd be great to see what they can do with this, because it's ripe for making fun of material. It just is.
It really is. Like, there's a lot of points in time where you and I would just throw in one-liners out there.
Again, I want to do like an April Fool's where we just do a live show and it's just us riffing on a movie and then we just post the full thing and say, here you go, ta-da, and call it a day. I think that'd be fantastic.
I think so too. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, what's the calendar look like? Let's see. February, March, April. Oh, it's only 2 months away. Why the heck not?
Oh my god. When is April 1st? Hang on. It's a Tuesday.
It was a Tuesday.
It was a Tuesday, isn't it? So, I mean, theoretically, we could still do it.
Ah, there you go.
I mean...
we got plenty of time. But no, I think it'd be great. Doing some sort of something to give a little more spice to the movie. Even if it's a little bit more bite or cynicism or something. Need something to make it actually memorable. Otherwise, the most memorable thing is that it's not rememberable.
Yeah, again,
that's not really a word, but still.
It's you watch the movie and then you sit there and you're like, what just happened? I blacked out.
Yeah.
What did they say? It just...
Yeah, exactly.
It's so unremarkable and forgettable. And it's sad because, like I said in the beginning of the episode, the comment there was like, this is a family movie. And I'm like, I don't feel good about riffing on a movie that your entire family seemed to have worked on, but I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, it's just not a good movie. It's just not. And and this movie is the definition of a bug-eyed monster too.
Yeah.
Like, them bad boys are ping pong balls, let's be honest.
And can we just say that, like, the whole mate thing probably didn't need to be added? Like, so what happened was, you're introduced to this witch who lives in the woods, and you don't know who the fuck she is. You don't know what her story is or anything like that. She's giving exposition, basically. And then we find out that she's actually the mate of the fish creature. And she just suddenly dies. So the fish creature has to find a new one and picks the main character randomly, and that's the entire last 30 minutes is the fish creature trying to get the main character back to the bog. Like, that was just the last 30 minutes of it.
And then flamethrowers.
Yeah, good old flamethrowers. Always a fun time.
No, it was it's such a disappointing film. It is. Like, let's go ahead and jump to this one. 1 out of 5 tombstones. Where'd you rate it?
1.
Agreed. 1.
1.
This is the worst movie that we've seen so far, and that's
saying something.
It is, but like, if you think about it, Bad Fish was at least there was something going on in Bad Fish that was at least entertaining. Bad. It was confusing, and it kept me guessing. It kept me guessing for the wrong reasons, but it kept me guessing. I kept expecting it to turn into a better movie. This started as a bad movie and ended as a bad movie. And at no point did I actually at no point were my hopes raised.
You know, this just sounds like a challenge. I need to find a .5 movie.
Don't you dare start with me, lady. I have others. I have so many others.
Bring it on,
I
baby.
um, but no. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna pick a quill out of Mystery Science Theater's hat for
Okay.
just a moment.
Okay.
I'm going to stick it in your brain hole. So,
Ow.
something that Mystery Science Theater did, which is one of the reasons why everyone enjoys it so much, is at the very first episode they ever did. At the end of the movie, they clapped. They clapped that the movie was over. They said, "Hey, congrats! All right, movie's over. Job well done, etc." And they moved on to the next terrible movie. And they've always done that where they make fun of the movie, they say it's terrible, but they always try and give something good about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, and the bog firmly in your noggin, what is one good thing you can say about the bog?
Let me clear my throat here. Yeah. Yep, that's pretty much it.
Riveting.
Yeah.
I will say
you're asking a lot here. I mean, okay, I will say that the hillbillies were kind of entertaining.
weren't they though? Like, I wouldn't have minded if we had had more of them. They got killed off too quick.
They did.
I think that was my biggest issue, is that they got killed off too quick.
Yeah.
And then there was the one police officer who just ran full speed into the monster, and we were supposed to be surprised that he died. That was confusing. But no, like, so the hillbillies were fine. We liked them. That was good. That's a good thing. That's one good thing. I'll take it.
Okay. What's yours? Same question. What's yours?
My good thing about it is that they pulled another bad fish in a good way, and I mean that as in when we watched Bad Fish, I talked about how they didn't just jump to conclusions. They were genuinely trying to figure out just what the hell is going on to cause these murders. And in the bog, they're trying the same thing. They're trying everything imaginable to try and figure out what this creature is or what's going around killing people, and they cannot figure it out. And they are genuinely, it sounds like they are trying actual science to figure this thing out. Granted, the science is hot garbage, but there's an attempt at some kind of legitimacy to it. You know, it's like, oh yeah, no, this creature is silicon. It's mostly fossilized. It's blah blah
It's
blah.
part plant.
Yeah, it's part plant. You know, oh wow, what are these weird ball-like things? I don't understand. Of course, you and me immediately go, they're eggs? What do you mean?
They're
But
the
like,
babies.
still, yeah, exactly. But like, there's an attempt to try and explain it away in a way that's not just, oh yeah, no, there's a giant monster loose in the bog somewhere. Like, they're genuinely trying to figure out what this creature is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to the Bad Fish comparison, that was one of the things that I loved about Bad Fish, is that they were genuinely trying to make it sound legitimate.
Yeah.
They failed, but they were genuinely trying. And that's what I have to say about this, is that they were genuinely trying.
That's valid. I'll give you that. Just
Hey,
that.
I got one.
Just that one, though. That's the only one you get. I'm all out now. Yeah, no, I just... What else is there to say, my dude? I mean, like... Honestly, you can only riff on these things for so long, and yeah, sure, we said the one good thing, but
No, well, and again, that was kind of the whole point. Is like, I want to end it on a high note. What was the one good thing? I think that's a good one. I think that I like that. The hillbilly characters were fantastic. Loved them. Sorry they died so soon. And
rest
they
in peace, my
genuinely tried
dudes.
to, yeah, and they genuinely tried to give us a monster that made some kind of sense. It didn't work, but they at least were attempting something. So I liked that. I really did.
Well,
That being said,
in that
that
case,
yeah,
before we give our ending card there, I do
uh-huh.
want to remind everyone that we have a Blue Sky, we have a Facebook,
Yeah.
and
Yes, we.
now brand new, open just for the fans, a Discord server where you can interact with like-minded people and us.
That's true. We do have a Discord. Oh yeah. Let's see. What is that Discord? That would be the Coffin Table.
It would
My
be.
goodness.
It would be. It is called the Coffin Table. It is a community server. Um, we also now have an operating Patreon for those who would like to help make this a normal thing for us to do. Because there's a lot of movies that we want to get through, and there's a very shortage amount of funds to get through all these movies. Um,
Yeah, not even gonna lie. It is kind of tough to get through them all whenever you're having to do a full time job, sometimes two full time jobs just to make bills.
and
So
life in between.
yeah, yeah, technically three. Um, but yeah, and of course, obviously, if you do join the Discord server, it's your standard stuff. No bullying or being racist unless you're being racist toward a monster. That's fine. I'm kidding, of course. No politics, that kind of stuff. But if you ever have any questions or just want to talk to us, that's actually a great way to do it. And we'll hop into the voice server from time to time and just kind of vibe and have a good grand old shindig. And it's a great way to get a hold of us and just be part of the crew. Why not?
Yeah,
So
and like I said, you can intermingle with like-minded people on these types of movies. You can share recommendations with fellow fans and things like that. We might even take some of those recommendations and use them for these episodes. You never know.
it's true. It's true. In fact, I even recommended a film and we did it. So there's proof. Wait.
You kind of okay. With that,
But that's going to be a wrap for this episode of the Coffin Table Podcast. If you've enjoyed our deep dive into the dark, then be sure to rate, review, subscribe, share, Patreon it, Discord it, etc.
if you have a film for us to unearth, like I mentioned, you can let us know. Follow us on our social medias. We can give you some more chills and thrills, as well as some backstage entertaining thoughts, pictures, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. And until next time, stay spooky and don't look under the bed.